Imagine reaching an age where you've gathered a lifetime of wisdom only to find that sometimes, the smartest thing you can do is act as if you know nothing at all. Surprising, isn't it? But in old age, there are moments when pretending to be a little stupid can actually be a brilliant strategy. Imagine walking into a conversation where someone is subtly trying to take advantage of you. Maybe it's a fast-talking salesman pushing an expensive product, a relative hinting at borrowing money, or even a so-called friend trying to manipulate your decisions. As we age, people often assume we are easy targets, believing that our wisdom has faded with time. But what if the smartest move in these situations is to act as if we don't fully understand what's happening? Instead of engaging, questioning, or challenging them, we let them believe we are a little slow, a little forgetful, or just not interested enough to fall into their trap. This small act of strategic ignorance can be incredibly powerful, saving us from stress, conflict, and even financial loss. There are plenty of people out there who look at older individuals as easy prey. Scammers, manipulators, and even some family members may think that we're too trusting, too kind, or too unfamiliar with modern tricks to protect ourselves. But the truth is, wisdom doesn't fade, it simply finds new ways to protect itself. Pretending not to understand when someone is trying to pressure you into something, whether it's a financial deal, a commitment, or a favor, can make them quickly lose interest. If someone is trying to rush you into making a decision, asking too many personal questions, or using complicated language to confuse you, acting as if you don't quite get it forces them to either explain themselves more clearly or, better yet, back off entirely. This method puts you in control without needing to argue, confront, or risk a relationship. Picture a scenario where a distant relative suddenly starts visiting more often, always talking about their struggles, hinting at financial help but never asking directly. They might assume that because you're older, you'll feel guilty enough to offer help. But instead of engaging in their game, you smile, nod, and act as if you don't quite catch the meaning behind their words. You change the subject, laugh at their indirect hints, and pretend to be more interested in the weather than their money troubles. Before long, they realize that their strategy isn't working, and they either give up or finally speak honestly, at which point, you can decide on your terms whether to help or not. This kind of pretend ignorance is also effective in situations where people try to impose their opinions or decisions on you. Have you ever been in a conversation where someone keeps insisting they know what's best for you? Maybe they believe you should sell your house, invest in something new, or change the way you live. Instead of debating, sometimes the best approach is to let them talk, not as if you're listening, but never truly commit to understanding or agreeing. "Oh, that sounds interesting, but you know, I never really understood all that financial stuff," you might say, smiling. Before long, they'll either stop pushing or move on to someone who is easier to convince. Family gatherings are another place where strategic ignorance can be a lifesaver. We all know that families, as much as we love them, can be filled with tension, disagreements, and conflicts, especially when it comes to money, inheritance, or personal decisions. As we age, it's not uncommon for family members to start discussing what they think should happen with our assets, our home, or even our personal lives. Some might do it out of genuine concern, while others may have their own interests in mind. But rather than engaging in heated discussions or feeling pressured, simply acting as if these conversations are too complex or unimportant can protect you from unnecessary stress. Imagine a family gathering where someone brings up the topic of inheritance, hinting at what should happen to your belongings. Instead of taking the bait, you chuckle and say, "Oh, I haven't even thought about all that, I'm just enjoying my time right now." You divert the conversation to something lighthearted, making it clear that you are in no rush to entertain such discussions. This approach allows you to maintain control over your own decisions without being drawn into family politics or financial disputes. Another common scenario is when family members start arguing over old conflicts, dragging you into situations that you have no interest in revisiting. Perhaps siblings are debating over past grievances, trying to get you to take sides. Instead of getting involved, playing a little clueless can be the best escape. "Oh, you know, I can't even remember all that anymore, but I do remember when we all had so much fun as kids." Redirecting the conversation away from drama and toward positive memories allows you to maintain a peaceful environment while avoiding unnecessary stress. The beauty of this approach is that it puts you in control without appearing confrontational. Instead of saying no outright, which can sometimes lead to arguments or resentment, pretending not to understand shifts the burden back onto the person trying to manipulate or pressure you. They become frustrated with their inability to steer you in their direction, while you remain unbothered and in control of your own choices. This doesn't mean you should always act unaware. Of course, there are moments when standing your ground and speaking up is necessary. But in situations where people are trying to impose their will on you, exploit your kindness, or drag you into unnecessary drama, a little well-placed stupidity can be the wisest move of all. Imagine reaching a point in life where you've worked hard, made sacrifices, and now deserve to enjoy your time the way you choose. Yet, despite this, people around you may expect you to take on responsibilities that you neither want nor need. It could be family members assuming you'll always be available to babysit, friends expecting you to handle their problems, or even society pressuring you to remain constantly engaged in things that no longer bring you joy. At this stage, life should be about peace and fulfillment, not obligations that drain your energy. And one of the best ways to avoid being burdened with unnecessary responsibilities is to play a little stupid when the situation calls for it. Picture this: your children or grandchildren assume that, since you're retired, you must have endless free time. They ask you to watch the kids, run errands, or help with tasks that, frankly, you don't have the energy or desire to do. Of course, you love your family, but just because you're available doesn't mean you should be the go-to solution for everything. Instead of feeling guilty for saying no, a little selective ignorance can be your best tool. "Oh, I'd love to, but I get so tired these days, and I just don't think I could keep up." With that, you've set a boundary without confrontation, making it clear that your time is your own. Then there are those who bring their personal problems to you, expecting advice, intervention, or even financial help. Maybe a friend frequently calls, venting about their endless troubles, hoping you'll step in and fix things for them. Rather than getting sucked into their emotional baggage, pretending not to fully understand or offering light-hearted responses can work wonders. "Oh, dear, that does sound complicated. I never was good at these things. But I'm sure you'll figure it out." Instead of being seen as the problem solver, you gently remove yourself from the role they've assigned you. It's the same with community obligations. Perhaps your neighbors or social circle expect you to volunteer for every event or take on leadership roles in clubs simply because they assume you have nothing else to do. While it's wonderful to be involved, you shouldn't feel obligated to commit to something just to please others. Next time someone asks, try responding with, "Oh, I wish I could, but I get so forgetful these days. I'd probably mess things up." Most of the time, they'll move on to someone else without pushing further. The truth is, you've spent decades fulfilling responsibilities, raising a family, working a job, being there for others. This phase of life should be about enjoyment, relaxation, and choosing what truly matters to you. If pretending to be a little clueless about certain obligations helps you avoid unnecessary stress, then it's one of the smartest things you can do. Another area where this tactic is useful is in avoiding arguments that serve no real purpose. As we age, we realize that not every battle needs to be fought. Some conversations, especially with stubborn people, simply aren't worth the energy. We've all been in situations where someone insists they're right, even when they're clearly wrong. It could be about politics, lifestyle choices, or even simple everyday matters where people refuse to see another perspective. Instead of engaging in a frustrating debate, sometimes the best move is to act as if you don't quite follow what they're saying. Imagine sitting at a family gathering where a younger relative is confidently explaining something they're completely wrong about. Maybe they're dismissing your experience, claiming things work differently now. Rather than wasting energy trying to correct them, a simple, "Oh, is that so? My old brain just can't keep up with all these new ideas," can diffuse the moment. They feel validated, you avoid pointless back and forth, and the conversation moves on without tension. It's even more useful when dealing with people who love to argue just for the sake of it. Some individuals thrive on conflict, trying to pull others into heated debates. Whether it's about the news, social issues, or personal matters, they seem to enjoy the fight more than the discussion. Engaging with them only drains your peace. Instead of getting pulled into their web, a little playful ignorance can save your energy. "Oh, I never was good at keeping up with all these things. You know me, just enjoying my quiet life." It signals to them that you're not interested in the argument, and soon enough, they'll move on to someone else who is. There's also the matter of personal pride. Sometimes, we hold on to the need to prove we're still as sharp, knowledgeable, and capable as ever. But true wisdom is knowing when to let things go. Letting someone else win an argument, even when you know better, doesn't make you weak, it makes you wise. Why waste time and energy proving a point that doesn't really change anything? This approach also works beautifully in situations where people try to criticize your lifestyle choices. Maybe someone keeps insisting that you should be more active, travel more, or do things differently. Instead of arguing, just smile and say, "Oh, I suppose you're right, but I'm just an old creature of habit." They get the satisfaction of feeling knowledgeable, while you get to continue living exactly how you want, undisturbed. What's important to remember is that this isn't about actually being ignorant, it's about knowing when intelligence is better used for peace than for proving a point. Pretending not to fully grasp a conversation, an argument, or an obligation allows you to control how much energy you invest in situations that don't serve you. In the end, choosing peace over unnecessary confrontation or responsibility is not only wise, it's the ultimate freedom. One of the most unnoticed but damaging habits that comes with aging is complaining too much. At first, it seems harmless, a way to express frustrations, share thoughts, or connect with others who feel the same way. But over time, it becomes second nature. We start complaining about the aches and pains, the way things have changed, how the younger generation does things differently, or how the world isn't what it used to be. And before we know it, negativity dominates our conversations. What we often fail to see is how this habit affects not just our own mindset but also those around us. Constant complaining drains energy, both ours and others. People may listen at first, sympathizing with our struggles, but after a while, they start to withdraw. Nobody enjoys spending time with someone who always focuses on what's wrong rather than what's right. Even when we don't intend to, excessive complaining makes us seem ungrateful, bitter, and difficult to be around. But it does something even worse: it shapes our perspective on life. The more we complain, the more we reinforce negativity in our minds. Instead of seeing opportunities, we see obstacles. Instead of appreciating what we have, we focus on what we've lost. Instead of being excited about the future, we dwell on the past. And in doing so, we rob ourselves of happiness, peace, and the ability to fully enjoy the present. It's not that we shouldn't acknowledge struggles or express frustrations. Everyone has challenges. But there's a difference between occasional venting and making negativity our default setting. The key is to balance our outlook, to focus on solutions rather than problems, to appreciate small joys instead of dwelling on disappointments, and to engage in conversations that uplift rather than drain. Positivity doesn't mean ignoring difficulties, it means choosing to see life as something still worth embracing, even with its imperfections. But even beyond the habit of complaining, another mistake we often make as we age is resisting new experiences. When we're young, we crave adventure. We try new foods, visit new places, learn new skills, and meet new people. But as the years go by, many of us settle into routines. We eat the same meals, visit the same places, talk to the same people, and do the same things over and over. Life becomes predictable, safe, and, eventually, stagnant. The problem with this is that growth stops where routine begins. When we stop exploring new experiences, we stop challenging ourselves. We stop creating fresh memories, discovering new passions, and feeling the excitement that comes with stepping outside of our comfort zones. We convince ourselves that new experiences are for the younger generation, that we've already done enough, seen enough, and lived enough. But that's simply not true. Every stage of life offers new opportunities, but only if we remain open to them. There is always something new to learn, a new place to explore, a new skill to master, or a new person to connect with. It doesn't have to be something extreme sometimes, it's as simple as reading a book on a subject we've never explored, trying a dish from a culture we know little about, or picking up a hobby we once enjoyed but abandoned along the way. The world is full of experiences waiting to be embraced, and age should never be an excuse to stop embracing them. Those who continue to seek out new experiences find themselves feeling younger, more energized, and more engaged with life. They don't dwell on what they can't do anymore, they focus on what they still can. They don't fear change, they welcome it. They don't just exist, they truly live. When we resist new experiences, we confine ourselves to a smaller world. We limit our perspectives, isolate ourselves from growth, and miss out on moments that could bring us joy, excitement, and fulfillment. But when we remain open, when we choose to keep learning, keep exploring, and keep evolving, we ensure that life never becomes dull or meaningless. We remind ourselves that no matter how many years have passed, there are still adventures waiting, lessons to be learned, and joys to be discovered.